Chapter 72. This venerable one stews soup. At night, the two of them lay on the white stone bed. Trying to pass the time while locked up was a task in and of itself. They had already trained and eaten, and now there was nothing else to do. Chuaning, calm and tranquil by nature, wasn't all that bothered, but Moran paced this way and that in the constricted confines of the cave, and the time only seemed to crawl even slower. I'm so bored. What to do? Sleep, Chuaning said, his eyes closed. But it's still so early. Moran glanced at the hourglass and shook his head. Way too early. Chuaning ignored him. Moran rolled about on the bed, then scooted over and tugged at his cheeks. Shidi. Chuaning continued to ignore him. Shidi. Chuaning steadfastly continued to ignore him. Shidi. Chuaning's eyes flew open angrily. What do you want? Moran took Chuaning's hands in his own and shamelessly swung their joined limbs back and forth. Play with me. Am I the Shidi here or are you? Chuaning wrenched his hands back, beyond irate. Who's gonna fool around with you? Moran smiled sweetly, truly and completely shameless. You, of course. Who else is there? Chuaning had no response. Moran took off the narrow red cord holding his hair up and tied the ends together and wove it into a distinct pattern around his fingers. Despite his protests, Chuaning sat up after all. What is this? He asked grumpily. How do you play? It's called Cat's Cradle. Mostly girls play it, it's not so much boys. But I grew up in a house full of girls, so I ended up learning it too. Chuaning eyed him. It's pretty fun, actually. See, hook your finger around this string here. No, not that finger. Use your pinky. Yeah, like that. Then take your thumb and forefinger and hook around these two strings here. Moran instructed him slowly and patiently. The candle flame crackled, casting its warm light on them, one big and one small, their heads lowered in concentration as they passed that loop of red string made from a hair tie back and forth, their expressions slowly softening. Chuaning held segments of string taut between his fingers as he followed Moran's instructions to weave a new pattern. Then he accidentally missed a loop. When the red string exchanged hands, rather than transforming into a new pattern, it returned to its original shape, a simple circle. Chuaning stared at it blankly, hands held in mid-air and face full of incomprehension. Why did it fall apart? He muttered. What happened? You probably missed a loop again. Again? No more. Moran laughed. Doing the same thing over and over gets boring. Let's do something else. No. Now it was Chuaning's turn to be displeased. One more time. Moran gaped speechlessly at him. They spent 3 days in the cave. Their fourth night, Moran was busy preparing to cook something delicious for Chuaning, as usual. He had figured out a few things during these last few days together, like that his little Shidi truly was from the same place as his shizun. They even had the same exact tastes in food. Tonight's delivery from the feathered tribe guard was a hen and a couple of mushrooms. Moran planned to make chicken soup with mushrooms, then add some of his handmade noodles. Altogether, it wouldn't taste too bad. Are we having chicken soup tonight? Moran glanced sideways at Chuaning. The kid was a genius when it came to martial arts, yet he just couldn't grasp Cat's Cradle. He was also stubborn to a fault, and every chance he got, he played with the hair cord, trying to figure it out. Moran couldn't help smiling at his smallish expression. Feel free to play with it while I cook, Moran said with a warm smile. But I'm afraid the soup's gonna finish stewing before you work it out. Chuaning let out a cold humph and paused. Is there any ginger left? Let me see. Yep, there's plenty. They gave us a bunch yesterday. Chuaning made a satisfied sound. Put some in. It gets rid of the raw meat smell. Moran stroked his chin. Oh, and let me guess, and add some wolfberries too? Chuaning's eyes brightened. Do we have some? Of course not. I was just thinking that your tastes really are exactly like Shizun's. He also likes ginger and wolfberries in his soup. You remember what he likes to eat? Yep, I'm super clever. Moran didn't feel like explaining. Anyway, it wasn't like he could talk about things like past lives with his little shidi, so he rolled with it. I'm the very embodiment of the 24 paragons of filial piety. Don't you know? It's too bad that Shizun doesn't see my heartfelt sincerity. Moran began cleaning the chicken as he talked absently, and thus he wholly missed Chuaning's expression. He plucked the feathers and removed the innards with a quick, practiced hand, and was about to boil the blood out when he heard his little shidi say in a quiet voice, He isn't necessarily unaware. Huh? When Moran looked up, the tips of Chuaning's ears reddened. He turned away and cleared his throat. I said, the Yuheng elder isn't necessarily unaware that you're good to him. Oh, that. It doesn't really matter. I'm used to it. Even though I did wish, once, that he would be like other people's masters and ask after me sometimes, or that he'd occasionally remember my preferences, like how I know what he likes to eat. That's all in the past now. When I first entered the sect, I was fooled by his pretty looks and thought he was a gentle person. Thinking back on it now is really... Moran sighed. My esteemed Shizun is so illustrious and unapproachable, and he's busy on top of that. How could I possibly dare to hope for his attention? At first, these words made Chuaning a bit cross, but then he thought about them. Although he was concerned about Moran in their daily life, he did indeed maintain a veneer of aloofness and distance. He hung his head wordlessly, and anger turned into consternation. After a while, he hopped off the bed and walked quietly over to Moran. What's up? You're always the one cooking. Today's meal is uncomplicated, so I'll cook for you instead. Moran blinked, then smiled. Where did this come from? You're too short to reach the stove. How are you gonna cook? Besides, I'm your Sisheng, now that you've called me that. The least I can do is feed you. Chuaning carried a stool over and climbed onto it, then stared at him stubbornly without saying a word. Moran blinked mutely. Why are you glaring at me? I can reach the stove just fine. Moran eyed him silently. The Yuheng elder may not know what you like to eat, but I'm not heartless like him. Chuaning said expressionlessly. Go take a break, I'll cook. And so, Chuaning busied himself with dinner preparations, refusing to let Moran help even a little. He had an aura of menace, and there was a concentrated ferocity in his eyes as he lifted the kitchen knife high into the air and brought it stiffly down on the poor chicken. Moran almost couldn't bear to look. Moran tried to help, but even his little shidi's temper was exactly like his Shizun's, and Chuaning hated getting interrupted when he was concentrating. In the end, Moran could only scratch his head and wander off to go flop on the bed. Having finally put the chicken in the pot, Chuaning covered it with a clay lid and was about to turn to say something when he heard a quiet voice from the cave entrance. Aran, Shirshidi, are you there? As soon as Moran heard this voice, he leapt off the bed as if he had been struck by lightning and dashed to the entrance. Through a gap between the brambles, the first person he saw was someone from the feathered tribe. She stood there coldly, but when Moran looked around, he found Shimei behind her, dressed in his usual white and his face full of worry. Moran was ecstatic. Shimei, what are you doing here? I have something important to tell you, Shimei said. The sect leader received the report and immediately rushed to Peach Blossom Springs. He's negotiating with the feathered tribe as we speak. How have you been? Are they treating you okay? I'm great, eating well, drinking well, and lively as always. Moran paused. What about Shizun? Where is he? I hear he's still in seclusion and didn't come. Oh. Something flickered past Moran's eyes, then he sighed. It's fine if he didn't come. He mumbled to himself. It's fine. But the Chuanji elder came to vouch for Shiyashidi, Shimei said. Is Shiyashidi already asleep? No, he's making soup. Shidi, come over here. Chuaning put down the little bamboo fan he was using to fan the flames and walked to the entrance. He looked at the two people outside, expression not the least bit surprised, and said flatly, What is it? Shimei didn't get a chance to speak before the feathered tribe representative humphed. What else could it be? She shot back. People from Sisheng Peak came. Your master says he'll vouch for you and is meeting with our great immortal lord right now. My master? The Xuanji elder. Oh. Chuaning paused, face totally expressionless. Good. The corner of the feathered tribe's representative's mouth twitched. You two can come out. Everyone is gathered at the Dusep Pavilion, waiting to hear your explanations. Chuaning turned to look at the chicken soup on the stove. I'll pass. The soup isn't done cooking yet, and I have to keep an eye on it. Moran, you can speak for me. These words made the feathered tribe representative think the child was immature and unreasonable. She smiled coldly, wanting to scare him. You'll miss your chance to defend yourself if you don't go. If you are deemed to be the murderer, there goes your head. However, Chuaning wasn't the least bit concerned. He wore an indifferent face as he sent her a cold glance and turned to leave. Shimei was about to call after him, but Moran shook his head with a smile. Let him be. I'll go. The Xuanji elder came all this way. It would be rude not to greet him. Before Moran could say anything, Chuaning's voice came from afar. Mo Sisheng, please send Shizun my regards. Shimei was struck speechless. He'd spoken so quietly, but the boy had still heard him. Feeling a little awkward, he cleared his throat and waited for the feathered tribe representative to open the brambles covering the cave entrance, then grabbed Moran to leave. Unexpectedly, Chuaning turned around and called out, Sisheng! Moran smiled. Did Chidi change his mind? You want to come along after all? Chuaning's little hand waved in his sleeve. Of course not. I just wanted to remind you to come back soon, or the soup will go cold. Moran blinked, then laughed helplessly. All right, wait for me. Chuaning said nothing else as he watched Moran walk away and disappear behind a corner. Then he turned back around to attend to the soup. The Dusep Pavilion wasn't far from the prison cave. On the way there, Shimei said offhandedly, Aran, you seem to have grown even closer with Shiyashidi these days. Moran smiled. Yeah, we went through a lot together. What, is Shimei jealous of a little kid? There was a beat of silence before Shimei said, Nonsense. No need to worry. My favorite person is and will always be Shimei. Enough nonsense. I just feel like Shiyashidi is a little odd. Odd? Oh. Moran thought for a bit, then nodded. I guess he is pretty odd. You think so too? Yep. Moran grinned. He's such a little thing, but he talks like an adult, and his power is no laughing matter either. Oh, and I haven't had a chance to tell you guys yet, but the stuff that happened in the illusion was even more bizarre. I think he might be a distant relative of our shizun, you know? Shimei's eyes shifted slightly. Why do you say that? We saw someone in the illusion, the son of the Lin-An governor from 200 years ago. Her surname was also Chu, and he looked like Shizun, and his son also looked. Right when Moran was getting to the important part, a sudden bout of loud cursing burst out in front of them. He looked up just in time to see Sure Mong striding over, face dark as a thundercloud, still cursing without stop. Bastard! Beast! Shameless mutt!